Hello, Misfit entrepreneurs. Welcome to another edition of Lessons for Hannah. Many years ago, I introduced a new format that, alongside our regular episodes, is called Lessons for Hannah. Hannah is my daughter and one of the main inspirations for the Misfit entrepreneur, and I wanted to have a place where she could go and learn from her dad and his Misfit friends throughout her life, even after I'm gone. If you haven't listened to the first episode of Lessons for Hannah, I urge you to do so, as it gives more background and tell the amazing story of how Hannah came to be in our lives. Lessons for Hannah are very short, useful, sometimes comical lessons that I want to share with you and give to Hannah to help in your lives, because I want Hannah to have these for her life. I'm going to speak as though I am talking directly to her. So these episodes are a lot of fun, and if you think there's a lesson that we should include for the future, please don't hesitate to send it over to us at support@misfitentrepreneur.com. We'd love to share it. As a reminder, if you're new to watching this show on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. Give this video a like and comment as well. We do our best to respond to all comments as timely as possible. All right, so here goes. This week's lesson for Hannah. Hannah, I want to share something with you today that has really proven true throughout history, in my own life as well, and in the lives of so many of the greatest people who really have ever lived. And it's this: tough times don't last, tough people do. I'll say that again. Tough times don't last, tough people do. No one gets through life without facing challenges, setbacks, or moments where everything seems just stacked against them. But it's in those moments, right? It's not the difficulty that defines you, it's how you respond to it. Do you give up, or do you dig deep? You push forward, you find a way. The people who really change the world, who rise above, and who leave a lasting legacy all share one thing in common: they endure. They outlast the tough times, no matter how impossible things seem. And I want to share a few stories, I guess, to really crystallize this for you. The first is is Winston Churchill. And if you ever read about Churchill, he was the one man that was standing tall against Hitler and the Nazis, even when a lot of people wanted to appease them. In 1940, the world was literally in chaos. Germany had really swept across Europe. They'd really crushed entire nations, right? Britain really stood alone, and they were seemingly next in line. And most of Churchill's advisors believed that surrendering or negotiation was the only option. But Churchill refused to break. He stood before the British people and he delivered words that continue to echo to this day and will for generations. He said, "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight on the hills. We shall never surrender." He knew the times were tough, but he also knew that toughness, true toughness, was not about the situation. It was about the person facing the situation. And because of his leadership, Britain endured. The world turned and history was forever changed, and Hitler was defeated. The next is Harriet Tubman, really an unstoppable force of freedom. Now, I know you've read about her before because we've talked about her before, but for those of you that don't know, Harriet Tubman was born into slavery. She knew the hardship that really, most people could never imagine. She was beaten, she was starved, she was denied even the most basic human rights, and most people would have accepted that as their fate, but not Harriet. She not only escaped slavery, but she risked her life over and over again to help others escape. She became the most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad, leading more than 300 slaves to freedom. And she once said, "I was the conductor of the Underground Railroad for 8 years, and I can say that most conductors can't say. I never ran my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger." She faced truly impossible odds, yet she refused to stop. She outlasted the tough times because she was tougher, and that's why we know who she is today. Next is the Wright brothers, another great example from the past, right? Learning to fly and creating the first flight. Do you know, Hannah, you know this now, but really, there was a time when airplanes didn't exist, right? There was a time where people thought human flight was just absolutely impossible. Orville and Wilbur Wright, they didn't have fancy degrees. They didn't have government funding. They didn't have anything but a dream and an endless, really string of failures, right? They built and crashed over and over again. But instead of quitting, they learned from each mistake. They adjusted, they refined, they kept going because they were just so dedicated to making this happen. They believed so strongly that it would. And on December 17th, 1903, they did what no one else thought could be done. They flew. And the world changed because they refused to let failure stop them. My last one for you is more recent, and it's fun because you're a part of this. Recently, in 2025, early 2025, for the 2024 season, the Ohio State Buckeyes won the national championship. This story obviously is close to home. We're big Buckeye fans, and we were there and took you to the game to witness them winning the national championship. So in a little backstory just for everybody, in 2024, the Ohio State Buckeyes faced some pretty bad challenges. They were picked to win it all. They had the best team. They're supposed to be unstoppable. And coming into the game with their arch rival, Michigan, they were favored probably by the most they've been favored maybe in 20 years, right? And they lost for the fourth consecutive year. The pressure afterwards was overwhelming. Fans were calling for Coach Ryan Day to be fired. His family was receiving threats. His children were getting bullied at school. The team, it was a dark time for all of them and the leadership. But instead of just crumbling underneath that, a lot of teams would have just withered and just rolled over at that point. Coach Day and the Buckeyes chose resilience. They had a team meeting that I think a lot of I think a lot of things were put on the table, and they came, kind of the come to Jesus moment, if you will. They regrouped, they focused on, what really mattered in the goals, and they went and embarked on an incredible just journey through the college football playoff, actually beating 5 top 5 teams that had never been done before, right? And against all odds, they defeated Tennessee, Oregon, Texas in the playoff, and that led them to the national championship where they defeated Notre Dame, which we got to see right in front of us, 15 rows off the field. Is one of the most amazing experiences, and I think you'll agree with that, hon. You'll remember that forever. So the Buckeyes triumphed, right? Securing their first national title since 2014. And the story is really a testament to enduring through adversity and emerging victorious, taking the bad and using it to fuel the good, right? And so I think in the end, I think the most important thing you can understand is that your toughness is a choice. And I share these stories with you because life is going to test you. It's going to test you in so many ways. I test you, and I know sometimes you don't like it when I do that. But you're going to face moments that seem just so overwhelming, so unfair, so impossible. And it's in these moments that you have that choice. You can give up. You can blame the circumstances. You can say it's too hard. You could say, I can't do it, or it's not possible. Or you can stand firm and you can find a way. Churchill didn't let a war break him. Harriet Tubman didn't let slavery define her. The Wright brothers didn't let failure keep them from flying. And the Ohio State Buckeyes didn't let probably one of the worst losses the program's ever had stop them from achieving true greatness. And you, honey, are made of the same toughness as these amazing people throughout history. You're going to face these challenges, but I have no doubt that you'll endure because tough times don't last, Hannah. Tough people do. I love you, Dad.